nobody cares about the Big 12 though, because the Big 12 sucks, and like that's why people vouching for y'all. Like y'all about to start getting Notre Dame treatment. People about to stop vouching for y'all to go to the playoffs because y'all do the same thing every time y'all get in. I mean, I know OU sucks, but don't get mad about it. Now, don't throw picks because OU sucks now.
No, you can keep doing it.
You're saying the Big 12 is not good because you're an SEC fan.
No, I'm saying the Big 12 is not good because everybody knows the Big 12 sucks. The Big 12 plays no defense.
So you're saying 5 teams. 5 teams that are worth mentioning in the SEC are better than the Big 12. Let me tell you who's good in the SEC. LSU, Alabama, maybe Florida. The only reason you're saying the SEC is better than the Big 12.
No, I'm saying this because I'm. What up? You're tuning in to Sports Talk with Christian and Amari, and today we bring to you the College Football Top 25 show. Christian, let's get into it. Do you want to go 1 to 25 or 25 to 1? How you feeling?
Let's go 25 to 1. So we'll start off with Tulsa. Tulsa had a pretty good matchup against SMU. Actually upset them 28 to 24.
Big win, comeback win in Tulsa. Big for the program. Jumped them into the top 25 rankings. How do you feel about Tulsa moving forward?
I'm surprised. I mean, 4-1, ranked at 25. Zach Smith is doing pretty good. He went 26 of 38, 325, and 3 touchdowns. I can't even remember the last time Tulsa was ranked within the top 25.
Me either, but I definitely – well, you're from Oklahoma, so, I mean, Tulsa is pretty big to you, but they're pretty small in the grand scheme of the college football world, so – I've never heard of a time where Tulsa was ranked. I can't recall a time ever. But Tulsa is also the team that knocked UCF right up out of the rankings.
Yeah, I mean, they're having a pretty good season right now. Now, I don't think they're, some prolific university right now. I think with COVID-19, they're kind of hitting stride when other teams are kind of hitting their lows, and I think that's what was SMU's problem on Saturday night.
I don't know. I just think that Tulsa's a pretty good football team right now. Like they weren't bad last year. SMU was a good football team too, and it was a home field advantage thing for Tulsa. I feel like SMU was up the whole game too.
Yeah,
Tulsa came back.
They were up 24-7 going in the half, and then Tulsa came out in the second half and outscored them by 21 points. So anytime you do that, you're going to lose a game.
Yeah.
Same problem with Oklahoma. You go into the half leading. If you don't score in the second half and you let that team gather all the momentum in the second half, you're going to lose. And that's exactly what Tulsa did. Primetime matchup. Tulsa took advantage of it. And, credit to them. They got Tulane next, who's 5-4. So, we'll see. And a matchup that I'm looking forward to is Tulsa and Cincinnati on December 4th. If they knock off Cincinnati, and then I'll give them a little bit more credit for that.
But I'm not going to recant my statements if they don't beat Cincinnati, because we know how good Cincinnati is. So we're not expecting Tulsa to beat them, but that would be a big jump in Tulsa's reputation this year.
Yeah, and they have the skill to do it. I mean, let's go back to week 1 for Oklahoma State when Tulsa was playing them. That game was 16-7.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State has all the talent in the world, 4 or 5-star recruits on offense, a couple 3-4 on defense, and they were able to hold the game to 9 points.
Yeah, that I'll credit that to the slow start with Corona. It's a week 1 game. Tulsa came out motivated. Oklahoma State thought it was going to be a walk in the park, and they end up Chuba had to bail them out late in that game. So I don't know, man. Tulsa's a pretty good football team, but let's go down to number 24, Louisiana. Only loss coming to ranked Coastal Carolina, who's at number 15. We'll talk about them in a little bit. But how do you feel about Louisiana, Christian?
Man, I don't know. It's hard to judge teams like these because we don't see them on TV all that often. I mean, I watched the Iowa State game the beginning of the season when they won
Yeah.
31-14 convincingly. Yeah.
Convincingly.
They
man.
had that game, from the first quarter. Iowa State could not move the ball on offense. They're a good football team.
And even going to the game where they lost to Coastal Carolina, that game went down to the wire, and Coastal Carolina ended up beating them in the fourth quarter. And Coastal Carolina run a little bit of a pistol option type offense, and they were able to keep the ball away from them.
Yeah, they're in the Sun Belt Conference. It's hard to judge conferences like those when you and I are used to talking about, the SEC, the Big 12, the Big 10.
Yeah.
You don't see these teams play.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, their hardest game was Coastal Carolina. Honestly, this is the first time I've heard of Coastal Carolina this season.
See, well, me personally, I don't know about you, but I watch random football games, obviously, because these are like the weekly games. You get these games on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and like if there's not a show that I'm into that's airing, I'll just turn on football. So I watch these games, and I was on a date at Applebee's and I watched the Louisiana Coastal Carolina game, and just seeing the type of football that was played that night, I knew both of those teams deserved to be in the top 25 football teams in the country.
If you don't catch these games on Thursday night, it's kind of like the Pac-12. If you don't stay up late at night, you're not going to catch those games.
Yeah.
You got to be, dedicated and interested in watching these games. And, I've caught a few of them, especially that Saturday night game, or not the Saturday night, the Saturday morning game against Iowa State. They're a good team. I think they're going to win out. They don't have that much talent left. They got Central Arkansas this upcoming week. UL Monroe and Appalachian State at 6-1. That's probably their hardest game of the season. But
App State?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
And that's a primetime game on ESPN2, which is surprising. There must not be, that many games on that week.
That's good football, though. 12-4 is a Friday night, or is that Saturday?
That's Saturday night.
That's a Saturday night 6 p.m. game with
that's Friday night.
Yeah, it's a Friday night 6 p.m. That's a good football slot right there. Nothing else is really on Friday nights.
But I definitely think they deserve to be ranked in the top 24. They went up one spot after being at 25 last week. But, let's move on to Auburn. Auburn actually jumped in the top 25 after a few weeks, of struggling at 4-2. So
I'm going to just say right now for Auburn, it's the name.
It is.
It's the name is why they're in the top 25. Their two losses, they were ugly. The two losses they had were ugly. The one win they had at Arkansas that should have been a loss was ugly. And I'm like we said, we watched the SEC enough to know like Auburn is not that good this year. And with two losses on their schedule, I know it should be worse.
And that's the problem I have with these rankings. If you look at them week by week, it's not the same as previous seasons. They're just name dropping.
Yeah.
If there's nobody else, they're like, you know what? Let's go get a name. Let's go get a program that everybody knows.
Yeah.
This is the case. Auburn. Auburn does not deserve to be in the top 25 after losing to Georgia 27-6. Arkansas
should have lost to Arkansas.
Arkansas is a good team. They play everybody close, and they've proven that they have gotten better on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Historically in the SEC, they've gotten better on both sides of the ball.
But they still lose.
Yeah, and that loss against South Carolina. South Carolina's a bad team.
Yeah, terrible. They just fired their head coach last night.
Yeah, they are bad.
After starting 2-5, so yeah, that loss right there is what did it for me for them.
I think it's the 48-11 win against LSU. I think people are giving LSU too much credit.
LSU is not that good this year.
Yeah, and like I said at the beginning of the year, LSU is going to lose probably 5 games this season, and that's going to be due to losing people to the draft. Yeah. That's just natural.
The tale of that though, South Carolina beat LSU. Am I right or am I wrong? No, South Carolina beat Auburn. Auburn beat LSU. LSU beat South Carolina.
Yeah, LSU beat South Carolina 52-24. So that was not a close matchup whatsoever.
But that's the circle of like how the SEC is this year, like with this coronavirus stuff, and with LSU losing people, and it tells you like where Auburn is though. Unfortunately, like we know LSU is bad because they lost so much. We know South Carolina is bad like the last couple of years with Will Muschamp, and then Auburn is ranked top 24 in that circle of Auburn beat LSU, LSU beat South Carolina beat Auburn. So the Auburn should be in the same boat with those teams, how I see it. But let's move on to number 23. No, number 22. Number 22 is Texas.
Oh, yeah.
How do you feel about Texas?
Man, I said this when Texas was playing West Virginia. Texas likes to play Big Ten style football.
What do you mean?
They like to keep it close. They like to, be physical in the trenches, but they're not that team.
Yeah. All I'm going to say is I feel like if Oklahoma's going to be ranked, Texas should be ranked. Only because we understand the dominance that they exhort in the conference year in and year out. And, like, even though they both have 2 losses in the conference this year, or do y'all have 2 losses in y'all conference?
Yeah, we have 2 losses because we lost to K-State and Iowa State.
Yeah. So with the 2 losses, even with the 2 losses y'all have in conference this year, we understand how good those football teams are and how the Big 12 operates. Anybody can beat anybody week in and week out. Like, there's no – like, even when you have a dominant team, that dominant team can walk into Manhattan, to Aggieville, and get beat.
Yeah, and I think Texas's struggles right now and why they're not climbing the rankings, obviously they're not going to jump Oklahoma because Oklahoma beat them. But if Oklahoma were to lose, Texas would still have the same problems because they lost to TCU.
Yeah.
And TCU's 3-4. They're a bad football team. They're not good at all.
Number 21, a team that should be higher, that I would put higher on my list, Liberty. Have you watched any Liberty football this year? Please tell me you have.
I watched the Virginia Tech game.
That was a great game to watch. Liberty.
You could say that they should have lost. Obviously, games end how they're going to end.
Yeah.
But Virginia Tech lost themselves that game by calling a timeout. But still, to be 38-35.
38-35 Virginia Tech. They that's not their only FBS win this year, though. What conference?
Syracuse. They beat Syracuse out in the ACC.
What conference
38-21.
is Liberty in? Are they in the
CUSA they're independent.
Okay, that makes sense. I was wondering. I always thought they were FCS.
No, they're FBS independents.
Okay.
And that's what's surprising. 8-0. They're about to go play NC State, a really good football team at 5-3. They can play ball. They can run.
Yeah.
They can throw the ball a little bit. If they win against them, I think it's going to give them momentum to beat Coastal Carolina at the end of the season.
Yeah. Because
obviously UMass isn't going to compete with Liberty. Liberty is just too good of a football team.
Yeah, Liberty's a great football team. They have a lot of senior leaders right now, and they're flying high and they're knocking teams off. Let's go down to number 20, USC. How do you feel? Have you seen enough yet?
At 2-0, I don't know if you watched that Arizona State game where they scored that,
I didn't watch
last-second touchdown.
Football.
They're not a good football team.
They just got a name.
Yeah. I mean, I know we got to give them credit because they win. 2-0 is 2-0. They didn't lose. But they're just not good. USC obviously still has a lot to prove. I don't care if USC goes undefeated. They don't deserve to be in the top 10. Their hardest game this season might be Utah, and we haven't even seen them play yet. So it's hard to judge them. I think I'll accept them at 20 right now. I'm thankful that they're not higher than that.
I feel like if they go undefeated, they should jump some of these teams in this top 20.
Yeah, I'm not willing to make that judgment just yet because there are good football teams in front of them, and obviously there's teams in front of them that are going to lose. Oklahoma could lose, Iowa State's going to lose, especially if they meet up in the Big 12 championship. One of them are going to fall. Georgia, sitting at 4-2. Georgia's a better team than USC.
Yeah,
USC goes undefeated.
People, but they lost 2 games. We lost 2 games. This is what happens.
Yeah, right now a lot of these Power 5 conferences are being held up by Marshall and Coastal Carolina.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that enough. They're both sitting at 7-0, tied at 15, in the top 25. And so as we get deeper into the season, especially when the college football playoff rankings come out, the initial ones, if Oklahoma's not in front of them, then they got some serious issues, especially USC. I don't see them jumping them.
USC's not going to the playoffs, though. Like the Pac-12.
Yeah,
the Pac-12
I don't expect them to go to the playoffs, but if you're going to look at the rankings and they're not in front of Marshall or Coastal Carolina, then obviously their chances are, slim at that point.
They might not even be in the CFP rankings. Like if I'm the committee, if we're considering a conference not to be eligible to make it because of how many games they play, don't rank them. Like just exclude them from the rankings, no matter how good they are, no matter what their name is, because they have no chance of getting in.
Yeah, and we'll get more to that once Ohio State comes up.
Northwestern. 19. Great football right now, undefeated. I think 19 is a great ranking for them right now. I feel like in a traditional college football season, the football that they're playing, being at 19 would be an honor for them.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing good football right now. You know, they just won against Purdue 27-20. Like I said, they haven't played anybody really worthy of noting. I mean, they did beat Maryland 43-3, and we see how Maryland's quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa's brother, you know, he's been lighting it up. That was his worst game of the season.
That was week 1 also.
Yeah, he went 14-25, 94 yards and 3 interceptions. And I mean, that was his worst game of the season. He has been lighting it up and just taking that offense up and down the field.
That was just week 1, man. Week 1 jitters. Oklahoma 5-2. They deserve it. They're in a good spot.
Yeah, and let me tell you this, and I'm gonna do a deeper analysis into this because a lot of experts are touching on it. Oklahoma is the most trending team right now. Joe Klatt right now has been talking about the chances.
Who is Joe Klatt?
Joe Klatt, he works for Fox Sports. You know Gus Johnson?
No.
You don't know who Gus
Johnson is? I'm gonna tell you the truth. I don't watch Fox Sports, but I'm gonna tell you what I know. Who they're the most trendy.
Let me tell you, Oklahoma. All right, let me explain. Since you want me to explain, hold on.
Christian.
All right, we're not gonna debate.
Stop letting these people scroll your fantasies, man.
Let me explain.
It's over with, man.
If you watch and I say most trending team. Now I'm not saying they're the best team. I'm not saying that because they're obviously not. I've watched Oklahoma football. I watched Clemson, Alabama play. They're not the best team, but they're the most trending right now on both sides of the ball in terms of getting better on offense and defense.
Oh, that sounds like some Big 12 talk. I'll say that they're the most trending team in the Big 12. I'll tell you the most trending team in the country is right now. And we're gonna get to them in the top 4. Notre Dame.
I don't know.
Most trending team in the country right now.
In terms of just winning or getting better. In terms of
winning, getting better, they're the most trending team in the country right now.
You see, I wouldn't even say they're getting better. I mean, I think they're playing their weaker side of the conference right now, and they're starting to
they just beat Clemson.
Improve. Clemson without Trevor Lawrence. I'm telling you,
the quarterback for Clemson threw 450 yards. They held Travis Etienne to 28 yards rushing. Like. Without Trevor Lawrence, that offense played great, and they stopped Travis Etienne.
Trevor Lawrence is a different type of quarterback than their backup, obviously. And I know
what's the difference? Hold on, because DJ's a dual threat that threw for 450 yards.
But we saw Trevor Lawrence run the ball against Ohio State in the college football playoff, so he's he's not a dual threat, but he
ran the ball. You know why he ran the ball? Because he couldn't pass it. So let's not bring up like him running the ball because only reason he ran the ball that well because he couldn't pass it. They were so worried about him throwing all over him that they locked that up and he started running.
And I'm going to make this claim right now. If Oklahoma and Notre Dame were to play right now, Oklahoma wins.
I don't like
outright.
It. I don't like it. And the only reason you can make a bogus claim like that because that game has no chance of happening. Y'all will never get a chance to play Notre Dame this year. But it won't happen. Y'all defensive backs are too small for Notre Dame. They have big body receivers. And y'all are too soft up front for Notre Dame.
They're not soft.
Who?
This is the best defensive line that I've seen in Oklahoma since 2008.
They are soft. They haven't played anybody, Christian. They haven't what dominant offensive line have they been tested by?
If I'm going to make this comparison.
No.
I'm
my question.
I'm answering the question by making the comparison.
Okay.
Iowa State and Notre Dame play a similar offensive scheme.
Not the same team.
They're not the same team, and I'll give you that. But if you think about it, the structure of their offense is almost the same. They have big wide receivers, big tight ends. Oklahoma was, undersized against that game. That's a big reason why they lost.
But that would pose I get what you're saying. They would pose some of the same problems that Iowa State posed, but with better players.
Yeah, exactly. And
think that's why I'm gonna give Notre Dame the edge.
But right now, Oklahoma's offense, Spencer Rattler's getting better week in and week out. I don't think Notre Dame's defense can stop that. If they're going to let Clemson score that much, I think right now Oklahoma has the opportunity to be even better than that.
You think Spencer is better than DJ? No.
I don't think he's better.
No.
But the gap is not that big.
No.
How big do you think the gap is between DJ and Spencer? It's not that large. I'm going to say that.
My thing is, it shouldn't even be a gap because this kid has started a whole season and DJ started 2 games. But the fact that is a gap is the problem for me.
Yeah, and I understand that, and trust me, I wish Spencer came out of the season and played a lot better. DJ just has it. I mean, when I watched him come out, he has it.
He just has the it
Clemson's future is bright, and I think it's brighter than what they have with Trevor Lawrence.
We're gonna get back to the top 25. I'm gonna end it like this though. Like the fact that you see that he has that it factor is all the more reason why you cannot hold Clemson not having Trevor Lawrence over Notre Dame's head, because you know how good that kid is. But let's get back to the top 25, man.
So 17, Iowa State. Obviously, we just kind of touched on them a little bit.
We just touched on the Big 12.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, we'll just touch on it a little bit. Obviously, they had that bad loss, first week loss against Louisiana, 31-14. You know, then they turn around and beat Oklahoma.
I'm going to say this. I don't think Iowa State should be ranked over Oklahoma, even with beating them. I think Iowa State should be in that, like, in that 20 to 25 to unranked range. I don't think they're the guys. But I will go on for, we don't have a 16, but tied at 15 we have Marshall and Coastal Carolina. Two great group of 5 schools playing great football right now. I think Marshall is the better of the two. I feel like if they faced off, Marshall will get the better of Coastal Carolina. But Coastal Carolina, I just love what they do with the offensive line. Nobody taller than 6'3". Tackles, both of the tackles are 6'3". The guards are 6'1", 6'2", and then the center is 5'11". So it's 5'9". Center is 5'9". And you gotta love that those guys are getting a chance to play Division I football, because stereotypes don't typically let guys like that get these opportunities. So I just want to take a hat off to Coastal Carolina for being able to produce and give those guys some shine.
Yeah, and I definitely agree that Marshall is a better team right there. I don't think it should be tied at 15, because if you look at the game against Coastal Carolina and KU, Coastal Carolina gave up 23 points against KU. KU is probably at its worst since we've seen in years.
I'm going to say this, though. It's the first game of the season versus a Big 12 opponent. Like, I don't care what you're saying. Like, I understand you saying, like, KU's that bad, but Marshall ain't beat a Big 12 opponent this year. They haven't faced one. So, like, let's see them. Let's see Marshall beat, like, a Power 5 conference school, and then I'll go and say and diss them that way. I think Marshall is better just because the universal football that Marshall is, like, incorporated in. They always have a good program. And this is something new for Coastal Carolina. Marshall's been here before. So I feel like if they faced off, Marshall will get the better of them.
Yeah, and you have to give credit to Marshall simply because they're in a hard conference, and, you know, Coastal Carolina, I mean, if you're going to play in a harder conference, obviously you're going to be more prepared for harder games.
I'm going to say this.
I just don't think we've seen Coastal Carolina's full potential on offense.
But we have, because they're never going to open up a playbook and just throw for 500. They play their game. What I'm going to say is, though, the Coastal Carolina's conference has 2 teams in the top 25. Marshall's conference has 1. So, like, I'm going to say the better football is being played between those 2 teams right now. But, like I said, I like Marshall's program and Marshall's, like, ability and experience to being in this spot over Coastal Carolina, because they've never been here before. All right, let's get on to number 14, Oklahoma State, best team in the Big 12. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, it's deserving to be there. That loss against Texas hurt them a lot. You know, losing 41-34, Oklahoma State was probably the Big 12's last chance of, you know, legitimately getting somebody into the college football playoff. Yeah, it's deserving. I mean, they have Oklahoma coming up next for the primetime matchup at 6:30 on Saturday, so if they can beat Oklahoma, then I think they should jump at least 7 spots minimum, just as a bounce-back game. But it's deserving. I don't think we've seen Oklahoma State at their
7 spots.
Yeah.
Christian. Look at the teams they would be jumping. I don't think they're better than those teams, though.
I think they would jump Georgia because Georgia's
jump
two
Georgia
losses.
Because we got 2 losses. All right.
Miami's not looking really good right now.
They're not better than Georgia, though.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not this season. It doesn't seem like they're ranking people based upon are they better.
Yeah, well, CFP ain't came out.
Because you really think that Miami's better than Georgia?
No.
Miami's bad.
Miami. I won't say they're bad. They had 18 players out Saturday versus Virginia Tech. 18 players out. Their starters didn't get any rest like the whole game. So, and they were the underdog in that Virginia Tech game where they won by 1.
And if you think about it, their only large margin of victory was against Florida State, 52-10. Now they went on to lose against Clemson, 42-17.
They put up a lot of points on Louisville too.
Yeah, 47. 47-34. But those aren't convincing wins though. If you think about it, Louisville's not that good. Then you go to then you go and play Pittsburgh and you win 31-19. Then you go to Virginia, win 19-14. Then you go to an NC State team. It's not bad. They're 5-3. All right, understandable. 44-41. And then, like you said, they had a lot of people out against Virginia Tech, and they won 25-24.
Yeah. I think they're good. I mean, how I see it, you got to take the loss to make the fall. They're not losing.
And if you think about it, we've seen them play a quality team like Clemson. They lost bad.
Yeah.
They should not be in the top 15.
They're not top 5. They shouldn't be in the top 15.
No, I think they should be.
Whoa, Christian. Y'all, hold on, Christian.
I think they should be under Marshall and Coastal Carolina.
No, negative. No. You're going too far. I'm going to tell you why. Because if Miami lined it up versus Marshall and Coastal Carolina right now, they beat them by 50. They lost to Clemson. I'm not, and rightfully so. They shouldn't be in the top. They shouldn't be in the top 7 because they're not top 7 good.
You know why I'm not going to believe that? We'll see how Coastal Carolina is going to play against NC State. Or no, sorry, Liberty. Liberty's sitting at 21. Why I think they should be behind Coastal Carolina, because if we're going to compare Miami, Coastal Carolina.
I think Liberty is better than Coastal Carolina and Marshall right now.
So they should be back at the 22 range then, because Liberty's sitting at 21.
So do you want to push both for the 15s back too?
Because if Liberty beats NC State,
me saying Liberty is better than Coastal Carolina's Marshall is me saying Liberty should be at 15 or 14.
Personally, I think Coastal Carolina is better than Liberty.
Negative. You already said you don't watch them play, so I know you don't really. I know you don't really know.
I don't watch them play consistently.
You already said you don't really watch that football, so I really know.
And that's why I'm making this. That's why I'm making an analysis like this. If Liberty convincingly beats NC State, then Miami's justification for being higher than them, there's no logic to it.
Christian,
how can you beat an NC State team by 3? If they lose, then I'll redact my statement.
This all goes back to saying, like, all right, if Oklahoma State beats Oklahoma State should jump 7 spots. That'll back that logic down, because Oklahoma lost to Kansas State that lost to Arkansas State. Like, we can't play these games. Playing these games don't work. We as a matter of fact, it comes back to you every week playing these but like, hands down, if Miami had to play, and Liberty too, because Liberty is a one-trick pony. I watched the multiple games this season. They can't pass the ball.
Mm-hmm.
They can run it though. They got a good running back and they got a scrambling quarterback. Right? They can run the ball. Miami will stop that. It would be bad. But what I will say is, I think Miami is playing like a kind of Big 12 style football where they keep it close and then they gut it out. If you get what I'm saying. Like, they're a great team. Their downfall is their defensive backs. In the average, they got a couple of average linebackers, but their defensive backs keep the game close with stupid penalties every week, if you watch them. But their offense is what separates them. Marshall's defense will not stop Miami offense from scoring 50 points. Coastal Carolina's defense will not stop Miami's offense from scoring 50 points. Liberty's defense will not stop Miami's offense from scoring 50 points. Like, that's what I'm telling you. Like, they got 5 stars at receiver. Like, they're still Miami. They still have the guys. And that's how they gut it out. Even if you watch the Virginia Tech game, when it got late in the game, what it came down to was 5 stars versus 3 and 3.5 stars. You hear me?
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest. I hear what you're saying, but I'm not willing to say that Miami deserves to be ahead of them. And we can make this claim next,
But how?
Next week. We'll make this claim. We'll make the argument next week once we see how Liberty plays NC State.
But I'm telling you, you cannot play this game because it comes back. It comes back and you're making this case for Miami, but it comes back and makes you look stupid when you talk about the Big 12. You cannot play this game like that.
I think in previous seasons we could. I hear what you're saying. I don't think that
not in no real season can you play this game ever. And I'm gonna say
I'm only saying this because they have a common opponent.
Okay.
Obviously, that Liberty is not playing the same level of opponents week in and week out.
It don't. What I'm saying is common opponent don't really matter. Because okay, I'm a football guy, right? I understand how seasons turns. What if that loss to Miami was so close for NC State is what turned them down? Like, it changed the momentum of their season. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you understand how college football works. Like, that one loss is what just makes a team go down when they feel like they have nothing else to play for, right?
And that's what happened to Iowa State. They lost that opening week, and then they opened it back up and obviously motivated them. So
yeah. It's the same thing with K-State, though. Like, K-State lost to Arkansas State, then beat Oklahoma.
And don't get me wrong, Miami is a really good team, and they have a lot of potential on offense. De'Aaron King, I think, was one of the best moves.
He'll be back
for
next
him.
year, too. I don't think he'll go to the league.
I really didn't like how he quit on Houston when he was there, but I do understand because Houston was a really bad program. Nobody really understood what what direction they were going in. I just don't think De'Aaron King has hit his ceiling. So I don't think that they significantly put themselves up on a lot of teams.
Like I said,
and it's hard to judge because of COVID. Because like you said, Miami had so many players out against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech lost against Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
you said Virginia Tech should have won. You said that yourself.
They should have won because the coaches lost them the game.
Yeah.
But for Liberty to be there at 38, to be up 3.
That's what I'm telling you. Liberty's a good football team.
Yeah.
They are a good football team. But Liberty took their best into Virginia Tech. They took all their guys. They took all their soldiers. Miami didn't. And they still won. But
you know me, man. I like to compare games. I like how the college football playoff does it. They do common opponents. How did each team fare? And I understand that there are
but what I'm saying is
unfair comparisons when it comes to that.
You can't take like an analytic approach to stuff like that because you gotta if you are like, don't just compare numbers. You gotta compare all the factors when you comparing.
And I think that's what the college football committee fails to do. Like you said, if Oklahoma's week 2 and week 3 loss, to Iowa State, and then let's say Clemson plays Iowa State or K-State for their 9th or 10th game. Obviously, you can't really compare those evenly because that's the beginning of the season.
You play 2 different teams.
Yeah.
We seen 2 different teams. You see it, and I'm going to say it like this. I see it every year just in the MIAA, like where a team will start off with 3 or 4 wins, and then they get blowed out in week 5, and then they just get stumped the rest of the season by teams that shouldn't have beaten them. Teams that wouldn't have beaten them in those first couple weeks, but that one team that they seen in week 5 messed up the rest of their season. So like it just that's how football works sometimes, man. But let's go down to Oregon at number 11. How do you feel?
I think that's another ranking position that they're just name dropping. Oregon is good. I think they're going to be there.
I think their defense is what has them at number 11. Honestly,
yeah.
With bringing so much back on defense, it's hard to say that the teams behind them are better than them. Granted, like it's teams that are just as good as them, like the Oklahomas, the Georgias, the Miamis, right? They're just as good as them, but Oregon hasn't had a chance to lose yet.
Yeah, I mean Washington State gave them a scare, and the first half they were up 19-14, but that fourth quarter scoring 22 points, and that's why they deserve to be at 11. Yeah, they're a good program. Yeah. It's just unfortunate that they're starting so late. A November 6th start it's tough, to get over that. But 22 points in the fourth quarter, it put them over. They won against Washington State 43-29. So,
all right, going down to number 10. Wisconsin shouldn't be at 10.
No.
2 games in, they disrespected Northwestern, I feel like. And Wisconsin did beat Michigan, and that's why they're ranked 10. But Michigan is a sinking ship right now too. So we ain't gonna sit on Wisconsin too long. We're gonna move on to somebody that deserves their ranking.
One thing I'm gonna say, Wisconsin should not be eligible for the college football playoff. I don't care.
They won't be.
Yeah, I don't care if they go undefeated. They didn't play 2 games. Granted that they're gonna play Nebraska and Purdue, but anything can happen
Nebraska
week in and week out.
Them.
Yeah,
Nebraska looked good versus Penn State. Granted, Penn State is very out of character right now. But let's move on to number 9, Indiana. Very deserving of the 9 spot. I've watched Indiana this year. Indiana is a great football team. Very deserving. 4-0. Not much you can say there. Not much bad you can really say.
Yeah, they put the nail in the coffin for Penn State when they won 36-35 at the beginning of the season in overtime.
But
they're winning.
Hey,
they're playing good football right now.
But look at this, right? All right, let's go back to what we were talking about with momentum, right? Indiana beat Penn State 35-36, right? But looking at them right now, you would say Indiana is way more than 1 point better than Penn State, right? That's that momentum factor though.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to see how good Indiana is this upcoming week when they play Ohio State. It's 11 a.m. kickoff. 2 undefeated. If they beat Ohio State,
they knocked the Big Ten out of the playoffs.
I think it's wrapped up for Indiana.
What, to go to the playoffs? I don't think so.
If you think about the momentum that Indiana will have, the confidence that they will have after beating a team like Ohio State.
I would like to see them in there, but I don't think that wraps it up. I think that probably eliminates the Big Ten.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Unfortunately,
saying, Indiana,
I can see teams like if the Big Ten don't get in, if that scenario with the ACC and the SEC don't work out, I can see BYU getting in.
Yeah, and Ohio State's a 20-point favorite in this game. Even with Indiana ranked at number 9, how they're playing on both sides of the ball, offense, defense, they're still a 20-point favorite.
I don't know. Hopefully Indiana comes out and sets the record straight. Number 8, BYU.
They're getting disrespected.
I think they're better than Cincinnati.
Yeah. I watched a couple of their games, especially against Boise State, 51-17. I mean, you don't see a lot of flaws with that team.
Yeah.
You can't really name multiple flaws week in and week out. With Cincinnati, you can. I don't think you can trust their quarterback to produce throwing the ball week in and week out. But BYU, man, they're playing some football right now. Zach Wilson, I mean, he's something else. I think they should be higher than what they are right now.
Yep.
I think they should be right there at 5. I got to say it. I think they should be at 5.
I think Florida should be at 5. I think Florida, even losing to Texas A&M, should be still ranked over Texas A&M with the way they've played the last couple weeks.
Yeah, because Texas A&M, they're a good program. I'm not going to lie. Kellen Mond, he's a system quarterback. He's good.
See, that's the thing. I hate to sound like I'm discrediting teams because Texas A&M is playing great football. Texas A&M is playing great football too. So I don't want to sound like I'm discrediting them, but I feel like if it came down to it, like Florida could compete better with those teams in the top 4 than A&M could.
If they play again right now, Florida beats them by 20.
Not by 20.
The way Trask has been playing right now.
I'm gonna tell you why. Because Florida's defense is still trash. So A&M, like with the talent they have on offense, they still will score. I think it'll be another close one, just like it was last time.
Yeah, I think what solidified me on Georgia was how they competed with. On Florida. What solidified me for Florida is the Georgia game. Yeah, 44-28 against the Georgia team. I mean, I'm sorry that Georgia's good on defense. Obviously, they're down a little bit.
We were injured on defense that game, but I'm not taking nothing from them. They came out and they played. They came out and Kyle Trask. I wasn't impressed with his second half at all. I think a lot of what he did was threw it up to Kyle Pitts and let him ease him into the game, like the comfortability that he had playing Georgia. But what he did this weekend, throwing 6 touchdowns versus Arkansas, is what really like showed me like. And he didn't have Kyle Pitts because Kyle Pitts didn't play because of the concussion, the head-to-head hit in the Georgia game. So seeing him throw 6 touchdowns against a good Arkansas defense that we all know is good. We all know Arkansas can play defense. 6 touchdowns versus them is what really like shows me like why I would take them in the top 5 or 4 than Texas A&M.
So the downfall of Texas A&M is going to be if Alabama and Florida meet in the SEC championship game. Yeah. Obviously, Texas A&M got blown out by Alabama.
It won't be a downfall. That'll be the pickup for them. Well, no, that's what they need.
See, I think the quite opposite, because if Florida goes in and beats Alabama, then there's that common opponent. And I understand that, Alabama and Texas A&M, it's just going to be the college football playoff committee. I'm trying to think how they would view it.
You look at the committee, but you got to look at it like this. 1 loss versus 2 losses. Texas A&M beat Florida. Alabama beat A&M, but Alabama only had 1 loss.
I'm seeing it in the eyes of Florida beating Alabama.
Oh, no, it won't happen.
Now I'm saying that's going to be the downfall of them if Florida if
Florida beats Alabama. Oh, of course that's the downfall.
Florida's gonna jump Texas A&M because they have that common opponent.
And Alabama what it will do, it'll drop Alabama to 4, and either 4 or 3, depending on how close the game is.
Yeah, and that's
That'll,
if, a third or fourth spot is
yeah.
not determined going into championship weekend. That's all what if scenario. I mean, if
It's
there's
gonna be
a third, fourth spot, available, then obviously if Florida beats Alabama would drop maybe 1-2 spots at least, at most go down
It's
to 4.
gonna be tough though because you still barring the Notre Dame versus Clemson rematch in the ACC championship and how bad one of those teams win or lose that game.
Yeah,
Because if Notre Dame wins again, Clemson's out of the playoffs.
Yeah, because that's 2-loss team. Clemson's out.
That will put Florida in, or if Florida wins, that will put Florida and Bama in the playoffs. Or if Florida loses, that will put Bama and A&M in the playoffs.
Yeah, I would even say, and I don't like Notre Dame. I don't think they're good. I think they're a good school in regards to being able to win. Obviously, they're 8-0. I don't think they're that good of a program. I don't think they could consistently compete with Alabama or Ohio State, especially this year. If Notre Dame gets in, it's going to be a blowout again.
I don't know.
Especially if they lose against Clemson in the ACC championship game, they should fall out.
Why?
Because I would rather take a Florida or Texas A&M team than a one-loss Notre Dame team.
I don't know. I have to see how the loss was. If it's a close one, I want to see that rematch. I want to see a trilogy if it's a close one, of course. If they can put together another close one with Clemson, win or lose, I want to see a trilogy. I don't care what you're talking about. Number 7, Cincinnati. They should be behind BYU. I think BYU plays better football, more cleaner football at that. Cincinnati's good, but I think BYU is a little cleaner and more equipped to play with the big boys.
Yeah, Cincinnati's quarterback Ritter, he's thrown just a little bit over 1,400 yards. Their offense is good. Like I said, earlier today, I don't think he can consistently throw the ball, especially if they're going to make the college football playoff.
Yeah,
they're going to have to throw the ball. Can't be one-dimensional, especially if you're going to be a team like Cincinnati going in. And we've seen matchups like Cincinnati and Ohio State. Ohio State would beat the brakes off of Cincinnati if they went in there thinking that they were just going to run the ball.
Yeah, for sure. All right, number 6, Florida. We just talked about them. We don't really have to cover too much. Great offense. One of the best quarterbacks in the country.
Heisman contender.
Yeah, top 3. He's the top 3 Heisman guy right now. I just think the season has to play out for them. They'll get to see Bama in the SEC championship. If they go win that, they'll be in, I feel like.
Yeah, and Texas A&M's right there. They have 2 games postponed, obviously against Tennessee and Ole Miss. Well, then they have LSU on the 28th. Looking ahead of their season, more than likely they're going to win out. I mean, what's their hardest game? Yeah. Auburn. But, we commented on them, previously,
It depends on how Auburn wants to come out and compete that day.
Yeah, and Bo Nix, he's young. I know this is his second year, but he still has a lot to learn. If he comes out and throws the ball, he can't perform like he did against Georgia.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Not going to win games like that.
But I will say this: Georgia usually has his Auburn quarterback's number. Like Georgia dials up the right pressure against Auburn's offensive line always, and even going back to Jarrett Stidham, like
Cam Newton,
it's hard to get the ball off. Cam Newton was a different case. Like you can get to him and it don't matter.
Yeah.
But down to number 4, Clemson. Notre Dame rematch is what we're waiting for, I guess. Obviously, like it's not too much. We know how good they are. We understand the circumstances. We understand they went in the South Bend, and Notre Dame gave them all that they can handle, and they end up losing on a couple plays in overtime.
I don't think they should have dropped to 4. I think they should have went to 3 because I think it was the same case when Alabama and Georgia played. Yeah. Obviously, after that game, we saw that it was a top 5 matchup.
It was where else was it for them to go? Like
3.
Unless you move Ohio State out, because honestly, Ohio State shouldn't be in the top 3. Only because they haven't played.
Right now, they shouldn't even be in the top 5.
Yeah, they haven't played. So how we give these guys seniority over?
And let me tell you this, and this is what upsets me so much when I see experts come out and say, "Oh, Ohio State's so good. We know what they can be." Let's look at their schedule. First week, Nebraska, 52-17. Convincing win. Nebraska's bad. Nebraska hasn't been anything since they've been in the Big 12. 2010 was probably their best season. They still lost against Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship. Mm-hmm. Can't recruit in the Big 10. Then you go to Penn State. Penn State's bad. Haven't won a game. when they win 38-25. Then you go to Rutgers.
That wasn't too convincing.
49-27. You're giving up 27 points against Rutgers. Are you serious?
Yeah, but no. Yeah, they shouldn't be in the top 5.
And I actually had Maryland. I had Maryland right there with Ohio State, but then that game got canceled.
Yeah.
Now, were they going to win? Probably not.
But they probably scored a bunch of points.
Yeah, the way that Maryland's quarterback, Tagovailoa, he was producing. I mean, he was on a hot streak that, I don't think we've seen since Joe Burrow was at LSU last season. If you watch his numbers, he was taking that offense up and down the field.
I'm not going to go that far, Christian. I'm not going to go that far.
Hey, I will, because he was playing at a different level.
You stay saying some crazy stuff, Christian. You crazy.
Hey, I have to.
Number 2, Notre Dame. They earned the spot that they're in right now with that win at Clemson. They're undefeated, obviously. You watch them. You look at the makeup of that team. They got an NFL-style running back. Ian Book isn't making the stupid decisions that we're used to seeing him making. Like, he's not playing – don't get me wrong. He's not the best quarterback in the country by any means, but he's not making the stupid decisions. He's making game-winning football plays. Big receivers on the outside.
In previous years, Ian Book would make bad decisions throwing the ball. And I think he's taking care of the ball. And I think that's what makes Notre Dame better.
Different.
Than what they were, in previous seasons. Like you said, man, they got a running back that's a pro.
Yeah.
I watched that game against Boston
Williams
College.
Is a good guy.
He was taking contact and, just driving, through defenders. It's hard to stop him. Mm-hmm. So, as of right now, I think they deserve to be at number 2 because there's not a lot of teams to place right there. But like I said, at the end of the season, if they lose one game, I have them out.
They won't be. They'll stay in though if it's to Clemson. I'm telling you.
Their next game is on Friday, the 27th, against North Carolina. North Carolina right now, they lost 2 games, 6-2. Sam Howell,
North Carolina's not beating any top 10 team right now. I'm telling you. So I'm telling you right now. They play comeback football. And you cannot do that against good teams.
And here's the success, or, the key for North Carolina to win that game. Sam Howell right now, at 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Sam Howell, if he goes over 300 yards in that game, I think that puts them in a good position to win.
In a good position. But I'm going to tell you this, though, they just start slow.
Yeah, they start too slow. And that's
the offense starts
issue.
slow, and the defense is getting points scored on them. So they're fighting back every game. They were down, 31-14? They were down 31-7 versus Florida State, 31-14 versus Wake, and they came back and beat Wake. They lost to Florida State, though.
Yeah.
So,
you can't be down, against Wake Forest.
they
went on to win 59-53, but, come on, you can't do that against a team like
they get down like that versus number 2, they will lose. All right, number 1, last one, Big Bama.
Well, it's well-deserved.
Yeah.
I don't think this is the best Alabama team that we've seen in previous seasons, but they're playing
dominant.
Good fundamental football.
Yeah. So that's a good one. It's not much you can say. Quarterback's playing good, receivers are playing good.
Yeah, Mac Jones right now, he's moving that offense up and down the field.
Najee Harris is toting.
He's right there, as one of the best running backs in college football right now.
So man, it's gonna be fun to see when the college football the CFP rankings come out. But that's all we got today, man. This was Sports Talk with Christian and Amari, and we're out.